S11E14. That's all we need.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Tigers Down Under. I'm your host, Alex, and with me I have Mike. How are you, Mike?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
No problem. It's a bit of a later one, so um, I was trying to think about it. I'm like, it's almost one of our first episodes that's probably on the day of a match when it comes to UK time, at least.
Yep. Good preview.
10 or 11 hours away from the game. So very much right up to up to date news with team news and all that sort of thing. So hopefully people can listen to this on the way to the game, perhaps. But we'll start with QPR before we talk Ipswich. We were just saying before we went to air. Look, you said you don't have a whole lot of positives to say about this game. I think what you were starting to say as we were about to hit record is probably where I would start, which is it is still fun to watch City this season. We're scoring a lot of goals. It's not something that you can say about a City side over the last 6-7 years outside of that League One season. So as frustrating as that loss is, I still look at that game and go, gee, took the lead twice, had our good opportunities, and you always know that this City side is going to score goals.
You also know they're going to concede them,
True.
which is currently how it feels. But you're right. I think for so long, not only Ajun, but I think we've been waiting for a season where we can be confident that we're going to get on the score sheet. And I have zero doubt every game that we will score. But I also now have zero doubt that we will concede. We've had a couple clean sheets, I think, this season. And I have a feeling that something either not necessarily needs to change, because I don't want us to change. I think the football that we're playing at the moment is very good football, and I think for a while we haven't played football like this. And look, every comment that you read on the Insta post that was the 3-2 defeat post said everything was negative, because it was can't hold a lead, can't secure the points, like it was points thrown away. Like I understand that, but we're also still sixth.
I was going to say, yeah.
And we've not been this close to the top six for a while. And yeah, like Cameron said in the chat, like for so long and for the last couple seasons, we've scored, we've gone behind, and we've not really felt like we were going to come back into the game. Whereas this season, we might concede first, and for the last couple games, either not the last couple, but a few before that, we would concede first, but I never really doubted that we would get back into the game. And we've done that very well. I think if we can tighten up defense, and whether it is defense or whether it's even just the midfield, like 26 shots faced against QPR is a lot. And I don't think that can only be put down to the defense. I think that also comes in from the mids, and, there could just be one or two tweaks that we make, and all of a sudden we go from being the side that I think we are now, the side that's conceded the most in the league, or tied with Norwich. But we've almost scored 30 goals this season, which is wild.
Yeah, so I saw someone actually did a bit of research over the last few years to see if there was a side that had conceded as many goals as us that have made the playoffs or even gotten promoted. And I think in both occasions, it was in the same season. I think it was 23-24, or maybe it was 24-25. It was Norwich and Southampton. Southampton obviously went on to get promoted under Russell Martin, but both had conceded, I don't know if it was the exact same number of goals as us, but it was a similar amount. So I completely take the point, and I think it was interesting listening to the 1904 podcast today, where they were talking about the fact that you're conceding 2 goals a game. You're sort of needing to score 3 goals to win a game. That's a lot. But in saying that, we are scoring a lot of goals. It's not as if, like, I look at the side under Slutsky where we were losing games like 4-1, and like Shotter as well is another one where we were conceding a lot of goals, but we also weren't scoring many. Whereas at least now it feels more we're playing this way by design. And yes, we lost 3-2 to QPR, but we also beat Portsmouth 3-2. We beat who's another one recently, but there's been a few where we've kind of edged those shootouts, and you go, well, you can't necessarily always fall on the right side of those sorts of games.
Yeah, and like, look, we beat Birmingham 3-2.
That was the other one.
Leicester 2-1. again, Cameron scored second most amount of goals in the league, but also conceded equal top.
But to be honest, like
But that's
I'd rather be
if
that
we're
side.
staying around the top 6, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I think the other thing to think about, and we talked about team news going into Ipswich, is we still don't have our. I'm not going to call it our best 11, but like Destan picking up goals, Joseph should have scored a goal at a QPR, albeit a great save by Harmer. But there are still players left, like waiting to come in. Miller's going to be coming back in. McBurney's coming back.
Is he?
Balumi, well, not for Ipswich, but they're like on their way back.
Yeah. Well,
Balumi, it was good to get him on the pitch. And like I think we're still yet to see a full-fledged what I would call best 11.
yeah. And I think you were saying it before we went to air again, but Ajayi in defense makes a big difference. Like I look at,
Yes.
was it Norwich where he started, or maybe he came on at halftime? No, he came on at halftime, didn't he? Changed the shape and obviously kept a clean sheet in that game. And I think typically when we've gone to that back three, we've seemed to be more solid defensively. So I'll be curious to see in the morning. We're sort of jumping ahead to Ipswich, but whether we go to a back three. But like against QPR, just to reflect on that game a little bit more, it's frustrating, I guess, with the way that we play so openly sometimes when you look at the fact that I'm kind of caught in two minds because I know that Jakirovic was sort of criticizing the fact that the team sat back, tightened up once we took the lead. But I do almost wonder if you need that element of pragmatism where you go, once you're in front, maybe we do set up shop and just try to hold that lead rather than keep playing the way we're playing and invite that pressure because like I get by setting up shop, you're almost inviting that pressure anyway. But like it's a tough one to sort of I guess figure out like what the strategy needs to be in order to close out those games. Because I look at like the Norwich game where I feel like we did kind of quite professionally close that game out. But then against QPR, I'm like, we go 2-1 up. It just feels like we're kind of not making the right changes either to the team personnel wise or tactically.
Yeah, I mean, like the subs that came on after Dunn scored the second was JB and Dala, like, and then Balumi comes on after Burrell scores the third. I don't know if those are the right subs to have made at 2-2. I think it seems overly aggressive. Like at that point, like I'm
surprised that Jay didn't come on when we're 2-1 up.
So am I. But I think Crooks misses out the next game because of a yellow in the 92nd minute. So I also don't think it was his best performance in a City shirt. And I know he's obviously playing with an injury, so it makes it quite difficult. And I think he will be out for some time at some point. So I think with him out, maybe it makes sense to bring in Ajayi. But yeah, curious to see. Again, we're talking about Ipswich, but curious to see what happens.
Yeah, look, I guess the player to call out from this one, Panda, I thought had a really great game. He seems to save his best performances for QPR. I guess in the same way that Cher saves his best performances.
He's one of the most annoying players to watch.
Yeah,
is Cher.
Yeah, for a number of reasons.
Always against us. Always.
Yeah. But look, I thought Panda great save early in the game to keep it 0-0. Had a couple of good saves late on as well. Almost made it 4-2 with, I think it was Burrell again, had the opportunity, and Panda makes a really good save to keep it at 3-2. Not often a keeper comes out with much credit when you're losing 3-2, but I thought Panda was definitely one of our better performers in that sense. But yeah, look, actually Giles is the other call out. Giles with the cross for Destan's goal.
That was
and
a great
Destan
goal.
as well. Like credit to Destan. Like you
2-2.
Before, 2-2. Somewhat proving me wrong. I was a bit skeptical about him having much opportunity. I guess McBurney's injuries opened the door a little bit to him. Joseph playing pretty well on the wing as well. Destan really, stepping up in that position where, you sort of said before McBurney's on his way back. I'm with the news that he's now going to be missing until potentially Middlesbrough, I do somewhat feel skeptical that there's probably more going on there than we really realise. But Destan's stepping up in his absence, so it's not as much of a concern as it otherwise would be.
Yeah, I joked to you before we started saying there were no positives, but I genuinely think we're playing good football. I just think we need to tighten up our midfield and defense, and I think we'll be fine. Giles, yeah, unreal. I think Slater's stepped up significantly over the last couple of weeks. I know that there were calls at the beginning of the season saying where does Slater fit into the side with all the new signings, but I think he's really made his spot, or that midfield spot his, especially with that interception for Gelhardt and then the ball through to Gelhardt.
Yeah.
And yeah, look, Giles has been on fire this season. He's a completely different player. And I think we've got really good makings. And like, I have to keep reiterating, we're still in the top 6. Like, we haven't been in this position for a long time. So I think we have to critique the performances, but we also have to appreciate where we are and how far we've come.
Yeah, I think, and we'll talk Ipswich and Stoke. I think it's Middlesbrough after that as well. So it's a really tough run of games, but it's also something to be viewed as a really good opportunity to cement that spot in the top 6. It's really frustrating, obviously, dropping the points to QPR. You sort of can't help now that we're in this giddy position that you sort of start to look at the live table once we take the lead, and
it's so problematic.
It's frustrating, right? Because all the results fell our way. So you kind of go, look, no harm done with the loss, but you also go, geez, it's a real opportunity miss that we could have, essentially jumped up to third, been a point off the top 2 if we had held on to the win against QPR. So frustrating in that sense. But look, as you say, like you can't help but really admire what Jurkovic is doing with a team that has sort of 4, 5, 6 first team players missing from the 11 and still getting these performances out of the players that we have available.
100%. And I think we also still have to remember that we haven't been able to buy anyone.
Yeah.
We like that. The fact that we've not spent, I'm not going to say we've spent no money. The fact that we've spent not a significant chunk of money to bring in the players that we have brought in, but also for the fact that Jurkovic has changed the way some players have played from last season to this season. I think there's no understating what he's done. And I think we were talking in our chat offline around, he's probably the manager this season that's leading for manager of the season, like, albeit Lampard is Lampard. But
I think
Coventry were always expected to be pushing for it. They were always expected to be around the top 2, top 3, whereas we were called to get relegated from most punters and most podcasts and most predictions at the beginning of the season. And the fact that we're now sitting in the top 6 is just a testament to not only Jurkovic, but it's a testament to the club as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, let's do votes for this game, and then we can look ahead to the couple of games we've got coming up.
I've got Hughes, Giles, Gelhardt, which is crazy because I know Destan scored, but I think Giles just makes that left wing his own. And Destan's header, super happy for him, but I think if he scores next game, he'll be on my top 3.
Yeah, nice one. Yeah, I went Hughes as well up top. Again, like, it's another one where you're going to go, we've conceded 3 goals, but a defender's getting the max votes. But I thought another terrific game for him. Really unfortunate with that deflection falling to chair for that first goal, threw his body on the line. I thought he's really looked, tremendous the last month or 2 in the team, and really becoming the player that we, expected or hoped that he would become this season. Started off the season a bit rustily, but has really hit his stride now. I did give the 2 votes to Destan. I think, stepping up into the absence of McBurney, Joseph, could have had a goal late on, as you said, great save by Harmer. Hasn't been awful by any means, but I think Destan starting to get a couple of goals. Like you said, if he scores against Ipswich as well, I think really starting to, I wouldn't say we don't miss McBurney, but if Destan can really start to score a couple more goals, it makes things a bit interesting in that sense. And then Gelhardt, like, what is it, 6 in 7 or something ridiculous?
Yeah,
like
unreal.
Like, Like, especially to score from that angle. Like, it was our first big opportunity for the game. I think we're all sat there just going, like, how has he scored from there? Of
He had
course
no
he
right.
has.
He had no right to
Yeah,
score from there.
yeah, utterly ridiculous. Yeah, so that was QPR. Look, we'll jump ahead to Ipswich and Stoke. So obviously Ipswich to later today if you're in the UK, early tomorrow morning if you're here in Oz. Did draw 0-0 last time out against Wrexham.
Yeah.
Have been in reasonable form. They're another side that scores a lot, concedes a lot. So
Yeah, their last 5 undefeated, 3 wins, 2 draws.
Yeah. So I think they're only a point behind us in the table, something like that, 2 places, something like
The
that.
table is very close.
It's quite scarily close. Like, I think
Yeah.
Derby jumped ahead of us while they were beating Watford and now are sitting in 12th, having lost that game. So it does feel as if we don't pick up any points over the next 2 games, that our position in the table could change pretty quickly.
There's 3 points between us and QPR in 15th.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is a very tight mid-table. And look, Ipswich is an interesting one. Obviously, there are a couple players in that side that we know very well. You being Greaves and Philogene. Philogene, I think has had a pretty
And
decent
Akpom
season
as well.
Yeah. Always forget about Akpom. Greaves hasn't been playing much. He was on the bench for the Wrexham game, didn't play at all. I think he's.
Do you reckon I reckon he must. Like, they'll bring him in to start against us.
I reckon he's only played 2 full 90s this season. So I a bit confused around what's going on there. But I think they'll start him against us.
It reminds me of, was it last season we played Sheffield United and it was like everyone, like Slater started, Egan started, Crooks started, like anyone that had been associated with Sheffield United started for us. Like, I think it was that game. There was definitely a game where I just felt like everyone connected to a club just started for us. And I was like, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and I think there's no underestimating the talent that Ipswich have. You know, Philogene, like Jack Clark as well. Akpom. It's a quality team. And I think we just have to be very cautious. But like, I don't think they've been in the best of form. So I think we're going there, and like, obviously a draw with Wrexham doesn't necessarily boast confidence for them. But before that, they had 2 4-1 wins, and they beat QPR 4-1 and they beat Swansea 4-1. So capable of scoring goals. We just need to be really careful.
Yeah, 5 wins in 7 at home for us to start the season, though. So it does mean that, look, it's a good sort of foundation for us at home to really come into the game with a bit of confidence. I would never say a game's really a free hit in this perspective, but it's a sort of game where we go, they're expected to win. There's no pressure on us from that perspective. It's just one that we've got to go out and.
I don't know if they're expected to win.
Well,
like,
yeah.
I think we're changing the perception that we're a club that can kind of roll over. I think, if anything, I would use this game I hope Jurkovic would use this game as a, hey, no, we're actually here to compete. And if we go out and we just do the same thing that we did against QPR, I don't think that's going to work. I almost think we'll get put to the slaughter. I think this is the part where he shows his variety as a coach. And, you know, I think we're going to talk about lineup changes. Like, I'd bring in Ajayi next to Hughes. Not that Egan's been bad, but I just think we need a bit more stability in that backline.
It's interesting because, like, we haven't lost back-to-back games under Jurkovic, so it's a good test for him in how we bounce back from the QPR game, how we respond to that defeat. Obviously, Crooks out suspended for this one. Yeah, to your point, whether we bring in Ajayi, switch to a back 3 or 5, and then you'd have Slater and Hadji Matovic in midfield as a 2. Feels a bit. I guess you put Gelhardt at the tip of that in the 10, and then you'd have. So you go
either Destan or Joseph.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, depending on how Balumi pulled up at the end of last game, maybe you start Balumi on the wing as well.
Apparently he's not quite ready to start, I think Jurkovic said.
Okay.
Apparently Lundstrom was meant to be back for this one, but it sounds like he's not going to make it either from the start. But maybe JB could be one that comes in.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about whether we bring in either Akintola or Ndala on the wing as well. I think Ndala just tries to do a little bit too much. So
Yeah.
I just think they need time to play as well. It's an interesting one. The only one that I would put my hand down and my foot down on is Ajayi.
Yeah, no, absolutely needs to start this one. It's interesting. It does feel as if we're trying to manage his minutes a little bit after his hamstring injury earlier in the season, where we're sort of saying like you can't play the 3 games in a week. Interestingly, it does feel like he's being selected for the midweek games and getting the rest on the weekends. So he's only playing the 1 in 3 rather than 2 in 3. But if it means that we're getting some of him rather than none of him, I feel like, you take what you get. But
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think looking at well, we'll talk. So how you feel? Like, do you give us much of a chance to get a draw in this?
I do. I think it'll still be high scoring though. So I'm gonna go a 4-2.
4-2 win.
No.
Oh,
I'm gonna go
4-2 loss.
4-2
Okay.
loss. But
okay, sorry.
I think it'll be a high scoring one.
High scoring. Okay. Yeah. How do I feel about this one? Yeah. Look, I can't look past an Ipswich win. I really do want to back us in because we've had such a good record at home. We've had good results against Leicester, Southampton, Sheffield United. Obviously not in very good form, but still sides with good squads. Obviously at home, it means Ipswich are probably going to come out and attack us a little bit more. Maybe that gives us an opportunity to score. If we can score first, maybe that kind of puts the pressure on them and we can frustrate them a bit. Look, I'll optimistically say maybe it's a 2-2 draw. I mean, obviously last time we played them at the MKM, it was a 3-3 draw. So we've got the history there of that as well. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what Greaves and Philogene do or the reception that they get from the supporters. I feel like it's almost just guaranteed that Philogene's going to score against us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Akpom will too.
Yeah. So we'll see how that one goes. But I guess sort of throwing it in with the Stoke game, I sort of look at these 2 games and go, look, if we can get between 2 and 3 points, like if we could get 2 draws from these games, I take that. If we lose one but win the other, I also take that. So
yeah.
I look at the Stoke game interestingly. Like obviously they lost to Leicester on the weekend, didn't they? And then who have they got this midweek? Because I feel like they've got someone tricky as well.
Unsure, but they lost to Coventry before that as well.
Yeah,
and
so I feel like
they've got Charlton midweek.
Yeah, right. So look, I mean, they might win that one against Charlton. Charlton had a pretty
Stoke are third. I don't think it's not a game that we can look at. But like the table is strange at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I look at Stoke in third, a bit like how when we played Charlton and they were 6th or something, and I go, yeah, but I don't know, or Preston as well, up in the top 6 for a chunk of the season. I don't know. I think Stoke have a good manager. They've got a reasonable squad, but I definitely see this one as the much more winnable game of the pair.
I agree. The only big win that I see Stoke having in the past was that 5-1 against Bristol. Everything else has been a 1-0, a 0, a 1, like a 2-1. They're not scoring heaps, but it seems like they've got a bit of a tidy defense. But I think it's probably the one, I agree with you, where we could get the most amount of points, whether it's maximum points or whether it's a draw.
And I feel like these are the sorts of sides that we actually do quite well against this season. It's the sides that rely on defense first, where we just score goals. So it's kind of, if you're hoping for a 0-0 or a 1-0 win, tough luck, because we're probably going to score 2 goals and you're needing to score 3 goals to get a win over us. So I sort of look at it from that perspective and think that plays into our hands. Like, look, they have good attacking talent. They got Sorba Thomas. They've got Mubama, I think it is, on loan from City. Manhoef as well. So it's not a terrible front line for them. But you sort of think, hopefully by then, maybe Balumi is in line to start the game. Maybe Miller's good for a couple of minutes off the bench, potentially. I still think, like, it sounds like McBurney's not going to make it back for that. Lundstrom should be available as well. So you're starting to get those players back. Crook's back from this suspension as well. Like,
don't forget Matazo's coming back next month.
Yeah. So here's another one. So you're starting to get those players back. You're starting to kind of get a bit more of a fit squad. And
then by that time, you're already in January, which means there are potentially other players coming in. Who knows?
Well, the only thing to flag there as well is obviously mid-December we'll lose a Jai for AFCON.
Yeah.
So that's the other one where I'm like, you almost, it's so bad to say, but you almost want to like just play him for as many minutes as you can get leading up to AFCON, and then if he gets injured, it's like it doesn't impact us, but
it will when he gets back. But yeah.
I agree. But look, I'm definitely feeling more optimistic about that Stoke game. I think if we could get, if you said to me we're going to get a win over Stoke, I'm probably much more comfortable with a loss to Ipswich. But between 2 and 4 points from these two games would be a great result. I can't see 2 wins out of these two.
I can't, but I hope I do.
Yeah. It's gonna be tricky. Like I think this run of fixtures is really going to test our credentials for the top 6. I think we've had a pretty comfortable or lucky sort of run of fixtures before this, which has maybe given us a little bit of a false position. But in saying that, we've done that with a whole bunch of injuries, so it sort of balances out to that perspective.
But we've always had injuries. It's a recurring theme at this club.
Yeah. It would be not. I just look at McBurney's injury and I'm just like, can we just have a season where we don't have someone miss 2 or 3 months through some mysterious injury that just drags on and on and on? Like, it would be nice to just have an almost fully fit squad just for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I not too much to say in terms of lineup for the Stoke game. I guess it just depends how we go against Ipswich tomorrow morning.
Agreed.
But score prediction for this one?
3-1 win, I would say. I feel bad for Panda. I just want him to have a clean sheet, but it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I'm thinking a 2-1 or a 3-1 win as well. I think, especially if we lose to Ipswich, I think there's so much pressure on that Stoke game. But even in saying that, I think, like I said, we haven't really lost consecutive games under Jakirovic. I think he's got a really good mentality in terms of getting the squad to bounce back from those sorts of performances. I would really back us to get something against Stoke, regardless of how that Ipswich game pans out.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it will be very interesting. We will be back here, of course, next week to talk about both of those games. Hopefully 3, 4, 6 points out of those 2 games would be fantastic to bounce back from that QPR defeat. But hopefully everyone gets a chance to listen to this before the Ipswich game in the morning. And if not, obviously can still listen to it ahead of the Stoke game this weekend. I think that's just about it. So thank you for joining me, Mike.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. And thanks everyone for listening in. Until next time, come on City.